We are live. Welcome, everyone. My name is Niki Lopez of What's Your Elephant, and this is the Art of Justice Art Making Workshop and Community Dialogue. This artist making workshop will be led today by poet and author Adejare McMillan, as well as we have a special guest speaker, Cathleen, filmmaker and producer Cathleen Dean, who's also the director of the new YMCA's Black Box Victory Theater. And so we're going to be starting this program. Let's see. So a little bit about me. I'm an artist, a cultural programmer, a social practitioner, and I've been doing a couple of projects with the YMCA. This particular project is through a grant through the Community Foundation of Broward. And so this particular project is the Art of Justice, where we're looking at 4 lenses of social justice, and we're bringing in artists to lead art making workshops. We have a speaker to also help to deepen the conversation, and we'll be creating art and having a dialogue about that focus. And then the next event will be the showcase, where hopefully everyone who's participating either on Zoom or Facebook, or if you watch the live later, if you, today I think we're going to be doing some writing, so I'll let Ade get into that. But once you complete your piece, if you write it or do a little recording and send it in, you could be a part of the virtual showcase that's happening September 25th, which will be a Saturday at 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so I'm going to turn it over to Cathleen to do a little self-intro and talk a little bit about what she does. And if you want to answer the question, because today's workshop, we're going to be focusing on advocacy, the skills to affect change. So I'm going to turn it over to Cathleen so she could do a little intro.
Thank you, Niki. It's a pleasure to be here. A little bit about me. As Niki mentioned, I'm the Director of Arts and Theater Performance for the LA Lee YMCA Mizell Community Center's Black Box Theater. I've been with the Y for about 9 months now. I'm also a cultural arts programmer and independent filmmaker and an educator. I've been working in the community for over a decade, producing a film festival and encouraging people to get involved and share their creativity with the community.
Thank you, thank you. And Ade?
Peace, greetings everyone. My name is Adejare A. McMillan. You can feel free to call me Ade. I am many things. So I am an activist, an advocate, an organizer. I work and have been working with the state of Florida's very own Dream Defenders, a social justice organization since 2014. But besides that, professionally, I am a mental health therapist. I work in the community, and then I'm also a clinical director, the new clinical director for the Healing and Justice Center, which is a new project being birthed out of Dream Defenders. When I'm not working and when I'm not attempting to save the world and make things better for us all, I'm usually writing or watching TV of some sort. But these 2 books right here are the culminations of much of the work that I've done over time. And so the first book I published, self-published, is called In Silence. It's this one here. And then my second book is called Getting Through, and it's here. So, I've written these 2 books. I've performed in a number of different places. I've done readings and across South Florida's poetry scene, which some of you may or may not even be aware exists. I have had the opportunity to perform and share my art and build and be with the likes of some of Florida's best orators and storytellers and griots. So it's amazing to be here. It's amazing to have this opportunity. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And then let's see here. And I see we have a couple of people also on the Zoom. So we're live on Facebook. So if you want to leave a comment, if you want to ask a question, please feel free to do so. Today we're talking about advocacy skills to affect change. So if anyone that's on the Zoom would like to give a quick intro, and if they have an example of how they exemplify that within their practice, their work, definitely feel free to share that.
I'm Sue Gallagher, and I work here locally in Broward with children and families, and I'm really interested in how language can create a space for liberation, or a space to kind of keep folks contracted. And so, like, one of the things that we've done is we've shifted from this idea of we're going to work with the target population to a desired population, right? And just the whole shift in energy that happens with that is something that we're paying attention to. So I'm really interested in the power of words to create change.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Let me check the Facebook. I mean, this will not be the only time you get to share, but you know, if anyone has anything come up.
My name is Glen Weiss. I'm talking to you from Boynton Beach. I was very active in terms of art and social justice in the 80s and the 90s. And I just thought I'd listen today and see what you guys are doing. That's all.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us and being here. And so if you've registered for the Zoom, I sent out an email recently that had a link to a template, a poet template. I am going to put that link in the Zoom chat and on the Facebook chat. So, if you don't have it, we'll definitely get it out to you. There's also a questionnaire. So a little bit about this project: the YMCA, Mizell Community Center, and myself is working on this project. This is the third out of the 4 workshops. There's also a showcase for each workshop, and then there'll be a culminating event in January of 2022. So this is the art making as a catalyst of social justice and collective action, an art making series that features social justice themed presentation, artist-led workshops, literary, visual, performing arts, all of those creative avenues. And the culminating show will showcase some of the work that participants have submitted, as well as there is an active call for artists. So if you're an artist that has work on any of the 4 areas that we're focusing on, or just the general theme of social justice, please submit to the call for artists. You will find all of that information on whatsyourelephant.org. There's a link that says the art of justice, and you could find all of that out over there. So let's see what we're going to go into here. So just have a little centering paragraph to read out, and then I'll turn it over to Ade. So advocacy is a deliberate process of influencing outcomes so that change can occur. It is necessary to be aware of a problem in order to develop a variety of approaches to create equitable advancement for the entire community. This lens explores how the arts contributes to developing the skill to successfully advocate for oneself or on behalf of others, involves awareness, analysis of the different elements and their impact on the whole. Following analysis, purposeful action plan must be designed to create a message, a way to express the message, and address the target audience. Individuals and group and advocacy can create a path to equity. So that's kind of the centering conversation that we, to keep in mind as we're going to be listening to Ade and, listening to his direction for the workshop and creating the work. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Ade to kind of lead us through the workshop.
Me unmute myself, so make sure you all can hear me. So first and foremost, I want to thank everyone who was able to join us for being here. I'd like to thank the folks that are here with me on Zoom directly for being here. Um, you know, if I could see folks' faces, that would be amazing. If it's at all possible, I would really appreciate hearing from you all, because this isn't just about me and my cute ideas. This is about the community and our collective action, you know, moving towards a better world. And so that means that we all have something to contribute, and I would appreciate if throughout this conversation, as much as possible, we can share in that dialogue. So that's my hope for tonight. But as far as this workshop is concerned, I think if I had to name this workshop anything, I think I would name it after the poem it was inspired by, which is "What if we win?" Very simple. Simple question, but a powerful question. What if we win? And so um, I asked that question to myself, and I've asked that question to countless amounts of people over time. And what ended up happening is it inspired me to write this poem that really explores that idea, the idea of winning, the idea of getting to a place where harmony exists, where safety is abounding and abundant, a place where we can all be and be happily, you know, not in fear, not in question, not discontent, or dissatisfied, but a place where we can be full and whole in all of ourselves, right? I think that that is a major tenet of many of us in the work that we do in the field, and in our lives, right? If you're in helping professions. And so this poem speaks to that. But I mean, before we get to the actual poem, I want to ask, and hopefully someone has something to share about this, but what role does language play in your life? How has it affected you? How has it changed you, either now or in the past, that would make language and the use of words significant? Does anyone have any thoughts about that? I'm sorry?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. So how has language, and the use of language changed or affected you in your life, either now or in the past?
Wow. I mean, language is everything. It's one of the primary ways that we all communicate. How has it changed? I mean, I could think it changes my life every day as I have a language exchange with another human being.
Absolutely. Is there a time where maybe it has helped you or hurt you?
It's all in how you use language, right? Language could be used to hurt. What's your intention behind it?
Mm-hmm.
It could be used to help.
Yeah.
It could be used to confuse. It could be used to educate. I mean, it's extremely important. It's kind of interesting too, because in my background as a filmmaker, I'm about visual literacy. So I've sort of sharpened my tool to tell a story and to communicate with pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of step back from language sometimes to kind of focus on my story visually.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that you answered that the way that you did, because there was something you said that I wanna on for a moment, and it's this idea of using language with intention, and being intentional about the words that we choose and the words that we use, because as you said, we are affected by language. It's ongoing. It's always in our world, and it shows up in a myriad of different ways. But one thing that I want to impress upon all of the folks that are here with us is that, language goes beyond just the now. It's not just about the words that we choose and use to describe our story and our histories, but it's also, it also holds power. Language holds power, words hold power. And our use of said words is where and how that power is translated and manifested eventually in life, in our realities. And so this poem, What If We Win, its title is a question, but it's also a consideration. And the reading of it, the words that I use in it really are, it's a linguistic description of me dreaming, right? And dreams are fleeting these days. I work with a lot of youth in my professional life and outside in the world, and what I find is that there's a lot of hopelessness out there. There's a lot of folks that feel beaten down. There's a lot of struggle, a lot of strife. There's a lot of stress. The world is a harsh place to be right about now. And one of the things that we highlight all the time in movement spaces and social justice movement spaces is the idea of freedom, and in freedom, the idea of dreaming and what it means to dream and how powerful dreams can be and the ways in which we can use dreams, right? So with that being said, I think it would make more sense if I just read the poem so that you all can hear it. And then I would like to invite folks afterwards to kind of give feedback, share things that have come up for you, maybe things that you hear, things that you see, ways that this may have inspired you or caused you to think or to change your thinking. So this is the actual poem itself, What If We Win? Here, cell blocks and ghost towns mimic one another, laden with history, antiquated after obsolescence, left hollow, awaiting attention that neither will receive. Here, confinement is altered with the blackest of magic, the conjuring of liberty and absolution upheld without contest, maintained in hushed acceptance. Here, ruling rests on the tongues of griots, sheathed in fine intentions, shared with the young, the ignorant, the forgetful. Here, tall tales are told at full length, giving breath to the lives we are meant to lead. Bedtimes are not backsplashed with the ballads of bullets. Here, our young are bred and born to embrace their greatness, to wear their truths as garments. No one dare question, no one dare disregard. And here, state lines fade into the fog of decolonization. Boundaries blur in the pardoned dust of transformation. One nation under whichever God is so chosen, wrapped in a worship never before witnessed. Here, collective hymnals end hunger. The howling after victory holds us present. Radical love is shared through serenade. Here, freedom is not merely a lullaby, some glorious dream, an impossibility. Here, where bodies may touch, where hearts may love without restriction, where hesitation abandons decisions, certainty is unshackled, safety thrives. The dust of careless play is kicked up from beneath the heels of the future, under the shade of the spoils of war. Here, we finally are as we always have been, but once failed to realize. Stars, dancing across galaxies of fullness, finally fully emancipated, finally allowed to be.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Um, I want to take a moment and just go over it with you guys. And I have it here. If I can share my screen. Can you all see this?
Yep.
Perfect. So this is the poem. This is what it looks like. Does anybody have any feedback for me about maybe what you heard, what you saw, where this may have taken you?
I would say when you were asking, like, how are we using our words? And Kathleen touched on it a little bit, and I think for me, the poem touches on it. I've been more conscious about the words that I use when I'm talking to people, as well as for myself. In my past, I could be great in sunshine for everyone else, but I was really self-critical. And so part of my journey is being more affirming, but also being an example of that and holding that space for others, when we're saying, and focusing on the positive, focusing on gratitude, focusing on what's the possibility, because sometimes whatever we focus on, we're going to draw in. And I love the word, as well as, words are powerful. There's vibration with those words. There's programming and deprogramming. So when there was parts where he said decolonizing, and I've been kind of thinking about that. There's a photographer that does, one of his hashtag is decolonizing beauty, because there's a certain beauty standard that American society, has taught us. And so for people of color, Black people, we're generally, that helps us to hate ourselves and to hate each other. So decolonizing everything around us and being very intentional with those words and not accepting labels from anyone.
Yeah, that is.
I like the affirming words, like, when it was talking about finally this, finally that. So it's just like kind of owning that space. And I think it's
Yeah, I agree, and I kind of wanted to add to something Niki was saying about how affirming words are, and how magically you put them together to create a vision in our minds of this utopia. Here, if we win, finally, our children, I think you moved that line, but that was, our young are bred and born to embrace their greatness. That really kind of resonated with me.
This question came from my work with DD, with Dream Defenders, and really and truly, a lot of the times what we ask is, what if you could imagine the perfect world? What does the world that you dream of look like? What things are missing from our current reality? What things exist in our current reality that maybe we want or need more of? Right? That's where this question really was birthed from. And this poem is an attempt. It's one of many attempts, right? Because it's a working piece that I've taken to try and vision out really what that world could be and what it could look like. And I try to address all parts. Um, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? Is there texture? What are the colors? Who is there with you? Are you alone? Are you with anyone?
Yeah, it's so beautiful when you say here, where bodies may touch, where hearts may love without restriction, where hesitation abandons decisions. I mean, it's just it's so lyrical in the way that you've arranged the language on this page to create this utopian vision of what a perfect world would be.
I chose this not only because of the nature of this program and what we're doing, but just because this is one of my favorite pieces I think I've probably ever done. Because it's not something that applies to only me. It applies to everyone. It applies to everyone, everywhere, regardless of where you are, regardless of what your world might be, right? Um, there's something here for everyone to kind of chime into. So it is a communal piece in its nature. Um, and so I used that, I chose that, this piece to be the template um, that we potentially can work on. And so I kept my use of the word here in the template, which I just pulled up. You all can see on your screens I'm sharing. However, as you are working on this, you can feel free to replace this word or even deviate from the template itself completely in an effort to describe your own world, right? And so I'd like for us to take some time and actually do this, like actually sit down and put pen to paper, pencil to paper, and kind of follow along. I created this template for us, and it basically breaks down every portion of the poem. So I have questions in here that allude to the particular stanza in the original poem. And so the first one, for example, it says, tell me about your place. What makes it significant, enchanting, and different than the world that we currently know, right? And so as we're constructing, I created this as kind of a guideline of things to potentially think about and write about in that position. So 3 to 5 lines for each portion of this piece. So I don't know how folks are feeling right now about taking some time to actually do this. But I would like for us to, just for exploratory purposes here. So
Just put the link to the template in the Zoom chat and on the Facebook comments. So we can follow along, but if anybody wants to click on it and read it for themselves, they can.
Just to understand the exercise, we're going to replace your words with our own vision of what a perfect world would look like. Okay.
And I think, and because it's a Google Drive, probably to copy that into another document and start there. So it's not, because if someone tries to type in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're using your computer, you might want to just open a Word document.
Yeah, and copy and paste it and then continue.
So can we take a few minutes to kind of do a quick free write around this? The template is up on the screen. Like I said, each portion of the poem I've actually removed and broken down into questions to consider. Hopefully these things will jog your mind, will get you thinking creatively, and get you to put something down on the page. So can we take a few minutes to actually like sit down and do this? Niki, how much time do you think?
Let's see what time. So if we're getting into the workshop, I think, at least a half an hour, 40 minutes, yeah. Because we want to leave time for discussion. And I know, and Kathleen also has a presentation after the workshop, a short presentation, so.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's do a 15-minute free write. Actually, that's perfect timing because I love doing these exercises. I do them all the time myself. So let's take the next 15 minutes to just do a free write. And you can feel free to utilize this template when you're creating your own poem, or you can use, whichever format you choose. You can use the word here as I have used to describe location, or you can replace it with some other word if you are choosing to go the repetitious route like I did. But nothing is set in stone. So I would like for you to explore the depths of your own creativity and your own imagination, right? So I will see you all in about 12 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, 2 more minutes, 2 more minutes before we come back. Alrighty then. 7:15. If folks can start making their way back, coming back to us, joining us here. Still got the template up on the screen. I know some of you may still be immersed, may still be in the writing. If you are, I don't want to interrupt your creative flow, so. But we do need to move on. Is there anyone here in the Zoom, on Zoom with us that maybe wants to talk about what they were able to create, share a part or a piece or a whole of what they were able to create, or interested in maybe giving feedback or insight about the process?
So I'll share a little bit. I just kind of skipped around. I'm not really a poet. I like to collaborate with poets. So I kind of skipped around and I jumped down a little bit. What did I write? Okay, so here we travel a world with no borders. Al Jazeera headlines and CNN headlines report only good news. Here we breathe in freedom and exhale only love. Here, screams signify only excitement. Tears stream only joy. Here.
Wow. Not a poet, huh? We inhale freedom and exhale only love.
Yes.
Can I borrow that?
Yes, you can.
I really like that. That's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Layla, you have your hand up. And is there anyone else maybe interested in sharing what they were able to create?
I could share a piece, and then I also see Glenn posted theirs in the chat if somebody wants to read it. All right. I started in the beginning part, but I didn't get through it. But also I saw someone else said they don't know if they'll finish it. As long as I get the piece, if you want to be in the showcase by next week, Friday, we're good. So this is what I have here. Here, I feel the warm sun, cool ocean breeze wraps around me and connects me with my ancestors, the stars, with nature, with the sounds of my grandmother affirming that everything will be okay. Keep going. Fears, challenges are heard, given permission to breathe as it slowly melts away to a better day. We are all beautiful and unique and accepted. We are strong. We are accepted. Oh. I feel her smile giving me strength and feel the calm of her embrace. That's far.
Wow. Shout out to grandma.
Yes.
Grandmas are so dope.
She's in the stars right now, but yes.
In the stars and always with you.
Mm-hmm. I see. You want to read Glen's?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So Glen placed in the chat, unless Glen wants to read Glen's.
I can read it.
Oh, absolutely. I would welcome that, please.
Maybe my generational difference makes some difference. I don't know. Here, I don't ask. Why do strangers care so little for the strangers? Why is hate spit? Why is death embraced? And then in a completely different direction. Here, we tell the stories of the childless generations of sorrow. The planet breathes. We walk barefoot.
Wow.
Mm.
We tell the stories of the childless generations of sorrow. Can you say more about that line specifically?
I think that's the only way that the planet is going to survive, if we admit that we have to go through a really painful period of childlessness.
Wow.
So that's my opinion anyway, a painful period.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know what comes up for other people, but when I heard that line from you, it was scary. It was it's a frightening line for me.
I'm as you can tell, I'm kind of hopeless at the moment. So, it kind of comes out in that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very optimistic about that future that you're imagining.
Right.
Getting there.
Right. But even in darkness, there can be beauty.
Oh yeah.
What you wrote is beautiful, Why do strangers care so little for the strangers? That's a profound question. Why don't we care about ourselves? Why don't we care about each other? Why don't we care about one another? That's, this is the power of linguistics. This is the power of poetry. It's being able to take a feeling and attach words to that feeling and make it almost tangible, make it so that somebody else can read it, see it, feel it, hear it, and be able to experience it within themselves in their own way for themselves. There's real gravity in being able to speak your truth about something that we might all be collectively experiencing, because no one has the exact same perspective that any one of you do. So what essentially ends up happening is we all work on this one prompt, but then we get an endless amount of interpretations of the same prompt. It's very true to life. It's very human, Does anyone else want to share or have any commentary?
I want to share mine. I'm sorry, I've never introduced myself. I'm sorry. I'm Stephen Michelle, and I'm an artist in residency with 10 Global Incorporated.
Awesome. Welcome.
And I'll share what I wrote so far. Here there lies a kingdom. There's color and care, a place to eat, a place to sleep, a place to call peace. Here, everyone is familiar, even the strangers. We've only just met, and it feels as though we've known each other for 1,000 years. All right. That's what I have so far.
Thank you.
Well, hi everyone.
How you doing?
This is Leila. I'm actually in a inappropriate situation here by a pool with some other people. So I'm trying to concentrate on your beautiful poem and write something down at the same time. So I came up with something. Let's see, it's of course spontaneous and impromptu. And I left my poetry book at home, so unfortunately. So I guess I can express it in a little while. Let's see here. Like that. Oh, here goes. Another Saturday night, and her smooth bronze and beautiful skin does not exist in my universe. I miss the emotional heights I reach when she appears. Oh, how beautiful life is sharing, caring, living. My existence is dependent on her appearance. I need I coexist and I believe. That's it for now.
That's really nice. You just wrote that.
I just wrote it out of the clear blue sky. I love poetry, but I just don't do it often enough,
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let me unmute again so you guys don't hear all the stuff going on here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
I see Rosemary wrote something in the chat. I don't know if you want to read it or we read it. And I just want to say also for the showcase that is going to be happening, the 25th? Ade is the featured performing artist. So if you like what you're hearing here, you definitely want to come to the showcase and hear some more. And bye.
As we near to 7:30, I want to be mindful of timing and such. Is there anyone else? Oh, Rosemary, you had a short poem. Yes, here it is. Nobody comes, everyone goes. Now it is silent forever. Wow. Wow. Rosemary, when you say nobody comes, can you, and I know your server is weak and whatnot, but if you can maybe type your response, what do you mean when you say nobody comes? Nobody comes, everyone goes. What do you mean by nobody comes? I'm really interested in that. And then as Rosemary is responding and whatnot, my hope, because I know time is short and whatnot, but my hope is that, you all would take the template, share it, use it, maybe finish what you've started, maybe write a whole new piece. You might end up having something to submit to What's Your Elephant and maybe join me in performing and sharing on that night. So this is a potential opportunity for you to even become a part of, all of what is happening in more of an active way, right? So it gives you a chance to explore parts of yourself maybe you haven't had the chance to, and then also share that with other people, because that's the only way the world changes, right? If God has given you a gift, whether you're spiritual or not, if you've been given a gift, you should know and treat it as something bigger than you, something that belongs to more than just you. We're all vessels. We all have things to gift to the world, which is why I wanted to do this interactive workshop, because I do believe in the power of people. I believe that we have the power to make the world that we wish and hope for. And so that's really the premise behind this piece. That's the premise behind what I do in life. It's the reason why I write. It saved my life. It kept me here, and it keeps me well. So if you like this, If you like doing things like this, I would encourage you to, you know, put that on the feedback forms, put it in the evaluation, and even reach out to me. I would be more than happy to um, leave my email address. I'm gonna leave it here in the chat. Um, but I can also be contacted a myriad of different ways. I'm on all social media outlets. You can follow me at the TJ Therapist. And then you can also email me at that same place, thetjtherapist@gmail.com. If you're interested in doing workshops like this or in having me do another workshop, I'd be more than happy to. I'm always ready to. I love doing this work, and I love hearing from people about, you know, just your thoughts, what's happening in the world, and what it all really means. So thank you so much for everyone that was able to participate. Thank you so much for those of you who wrote, took the time to write, to explore yourself, to feel maybe something a little bit different that you haven't been able to. Please, please, please don't be shy. If you feel like reaching out, as I said, please do so. Super friendly. I talk back. If you follow me, I follow back. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I see that we do have some time because we have till 8:30 because it's like the workshop, and I totally forgot. Kathleen does have a little presentation, but also I see that Rosemary has posted some more elaborated. The state of the world, we are aloe, we are isolated, death is final, the end of the world is near. Texanation, rebellion, eternity. That's pretty deep. Extinction. Alone. Okay, I was like, oh, aloe. Yeah.
Rosemary has a way with words.
Mm-hmm.
The end of the world is nigh.
Yeah. And I, you know, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say how much I really enjoyed this collaboration and working in this space and this exercise with the writing prompts. It was a really special way to create. You know, often we're alone in our creative process, so it was nice to do it with community and guided by your expertise. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I love doing this. I think that, you know, artists for everyone. I don't believe that people are not artists. I believe everyone is an artist in their own right. We are creators just in our very nature. So through that, we are all artists. And you know, what better a way to ask the hard questions and explore the bits and pieces of ourselves than, you know, amongst like-minded folk, amongst people who share in those ideals and those values, right?
Absolutely, I totally agree. And I think like part of this synergy that I'm feeling too is because I've collaborated a lot with poets on my work. And if Niki, if this is a good time, my presentation's really short. I just kind of I'll jump into it and just kind of bring it back to advocacy. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, so Niki gave us this prompt, and I was thinking about, you know, advocacy and the skills that we use to affect change. And in my work, I've used storytelling and filmmaking as my advocacy. I'm a big advocate for the arts, period, because I think arts are so important to everyone for personal growth, mental health and well-being, and also for fostering better relationships between people. You know, we get to learn about each other and understand different cultures and connect through art. So what's the purpose of advocacy? advocacy seeks to ensure that all people in society are able to have their voice heard on issues that are important to them, protect and promote their rights, have their views and wishes genuinely considered when decisions are being made. And what are the skills? Communication, collaboration, presentation, outreach. And I use my tools as a filmmaker to tackle issues that are important to me. And I've collaborated with some amazing poets. And who knows, maybe we have a future collaboration here, as I've really, this is my thing now. I've incorporated poetry into my films. So I've worked with Darius Daughtry on Being, and a young lady named Naya Hardman on Wade in the Water. And I'm just going to read to you how Wade in the Water, Drowning in Racism opens with this poetic verse. Would you believe me if I told you Black freedom lies at the bottom of the deepest ocean? That if you swim far enough, deep enough, fast enough, past the blue and into the black, you will find the abandoned treasures of our ancestors waiting patiently to be reclaimed. All you have to do is swim. So I've taken on tackling some issues around aquatics in this film, Wade in the Water, Drowning in Racism. It was deeply disturbing to me when I found out that children of African descent drown at 7 times the rate of Caucasian children, and that there are myths and stereotypes that Black people don't swim, and learning to swim it's a right. It's part of our history as people of the African diaspora. It was part of our culture, our spiritual practice. We built our communities around the water. And I utilized, this film to tell the story, and it's been being used right now as an advocacy tool. It's screened at festivals, and I bring together a group of experts, and we have a conversation about how important it is for people to learn to swim, not only for drowning prevention, but for health and wellness as well. To reconnect with the water is important to us because it's something that was part of our culture, but due to Jim Crow, colonization, slavery, people of the African diaspora were disconnected from water. So I say all this to say that artists are in a amazing place to advocate for causes that are important to us. Poetry, filmmaking, painting, all of these art forms, dance, are able to communicate a message to our audience and to establish an emotional connection, which I think when you connect with someone on an emotional level, it resonates, and it enables understanding deeper than just maybe a logical debate, because we are humans with hearts. And as I continue to move forward and advocate through my work, I'm encouraging other people to do the same. And whatever your art form is, or whatever you want it to be, it's the perfect tool for advocacy. And that concludes my presentation for tonight.
Kathleen, you shared that opening to Wade in the Water, and you said, so I quoted you in the chat, but you said talking about Black folks and our right, to reconnect with. And as soon as you said that, I was just like, that's it. Like, that was the power for me, right? To reconnect with the water. It just the use of the term reconnect as opposed to get acquainted with, or have a relationship with, form a relationship with, right? Like it's the confirmation that the relationship is already pre-existing and it has been there. Um, and we by one way or another have seemingly gotten separated from that, so much so that there is a statistic of drowning at 7 times other children, which is really powerful. So for you to have explored something like that, for that to be thought of in that way, it's just really powerful. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I was recently in Philadelphia. The film is part of an art exhibition called Pool, which explores, racial segregation in pools in the Northeast. And one of the, I think it's the director, executive director of the Waterworks, the Fairmount Waterworks Park, where the exhibition is being housed. She said this so eloquently. She said that we all are born of water. So it's natural that we are going to seek it sooner or later. So, we should definitely take the time to learn how to swim and to have a water culture as part of our lives. Nikki sharing a poem.
Oh, I just saw someone with Rosemary wanted to share her screen. This is the poem, I think.
Should I read it for Rosemary, or is she going to read
Yeah,
it?
well, yeah, sorry.
It's poetry, it's poppy seed floating in the wind, migrant coming to our shores, embrace our neighbors, love our world, be together as one family, united togetherness. Very nice, Rosemary.
I really like the visual. Stop. It's like it's almost aimless, but with the knowing that there will be the best. That's why I did. I like to
I wrote it this summer.
I was in preparing, sorry, for this for tonight's workshop. I was thinking about the way in which language has has really affected our world, especially now that we're in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, and even now dealing with this Delta variant, just when people were really, starting to think that it was quote unquote over, so to speak. Um, but I was just thinking about the way that like humans and the world has remained connected, right? And how suddenly language, more so than any other time in my existence that I can think of, has played such an important role, especially through technology and the use of social media and news. Um, just how like the words that we use, the way that we choose to communicate things, when things get communicated, and the speed at which we receive information, has been so hung up on, quite simply, the language. You know? What do you all think or feel like has changed in maybe the last year and a half, the last 2 years, with the way that we communicate with one another? Does anyone have ideas? There's a few people on here. Folks are muted, but if you have any thoughts, please.
For me, what I see is people, or at least in, kind of the bubble that I'm in, people connecting more to breathing and taking mental health a lot more seriously and self-care. I don't think years ago that was really a norm. I know for me, myself personally, that wasn't a norm. That's something that I've learned and grown through as I, healed from my past and using art to help me and help others. I'm just really grateful to know a lot of people who've been kind of like focusing more on like, what can we do? Don't have to be so busy. People realize like it could wait till tomorrow. I need to refuel. A lot of times, especially, women, Black women, different people, we feel like we have to do so much. We have to do more. We have to try to be better than just to be noticed. And I think that there's been more acceptance of like, I'm going to rest, I'm going to recharge, I'm going to refuel. This is my capacity so that I could do that work. So I think that's something that I've been kind of like hearing from, people around me. I'm experiencing that myself. People being home, last year, the What's Your Elephant exhibition was about safer at home. Like, are we? Everyone's stuck at home because it's safe because of the pandemic. But the reality is, domestic violence, people are home with their predators. People are home with people who don't accept them because they're within the LGBT community. So, people are and people who are just like happy-go-lucky and don't realize we need these connectivities, these social, to connect with one another. We're so caught up in our, devices sometimes. And I think people are starting to see like, hold up, we have to connect. Like technology is great. It helps us keep in communication with everybody, but we need that physical connection. We need that talk. We need to have more space. We need to be able to hold space for other people. So those are things that I've kind of like seen, and also wherever people are at, like when people were sharing a little earlier, and, I think it was Glenn, he was saying like how he was kind of have a certain type of cynical type of view. And so even though I feel it's very important for those of us who are at the level to say, let's, be mindful of our words and be positive and be affirming and hold, all these things, I also think people accepting wherever you're at, right? If you're in a funk, if you're cynical, like people don't want to share that. So people then cannot get the support that they need to get through that space, or just be like, hey, that's where I'm at right now. Maybe tomorrow we'll try again. So I think all of those spaces and being able to just be seen, be heard, be felt, and know that wherever you're at is okay. And I think, those are things that I see people being more mindful, and I'm hoping more people will get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually in full agreement with you there, Niki, especially as far as mental health is concerned, and as far as folks having to be stuck at home in just unaffirming households. Our community, the LGBTQ plus community, some of us have it hard. Some of us have it so much harder than others. And so to have to be and be forced to be in a space where, maybe we're unable to be our fullest selves, we're unable to express and to be open about who we are and the space that we have chosen to take up in the world. It's like this art form, the use of poetry, the use of art in general is one saving grace that we have. It's one of the ways that we can still, maybe not locate it, but at least journey towards freedom, towards liberation. Being stuck in a house where you can easily feel in bondage, it really paints a picture and places an emphasis on the methods and the choices that we make and utilize to achieve that feeling again, that feeling of freedom, that feeling of weightlessness, that feeling that I can do and I can be and I can go, even if it's just in our imaginations. And I think that it's so important, especially working with people of color and Black people, and diasporic peoples all over, that we do place emphasis on what is up here, you know? And does it only have to be up here? Because I think that can become a form of bondage for ourselves as well. It's like not allowing ourselves to dream, and not sharing of what those dreams really are and the way that they can help and change the world as we know it, you know?
Mhm. And I wanted to share a little bit because I realized I kind of glossed over it, and it kind of connects to what of our focus. So we're talking about advocacy and the skills to affect change. And I know there's a lot of new people who may not, this is their first workshop here in this space, and I'm very grateful for you joining. So one of my main projects is What's Your Elephant? It's a movement that uses the arts to create a safe space to address anything unspoken. So things like this, where it's collaborative, exhibitions, chats, interactive arts, workshops, different things like that. And I work independently. I work with, the Y. I've, collaborated. I know Ade has been performed on one of our shows a few years back. I've, had the pleasure of, collaborating with Cathleen Dean on different projects, and with the Y and Zifra. So that's I wanted to share that also, because this is just like how I use the arts as creative advocacy in the work that I do, whether it's What's Your Elephant, whether it's collaborating with organizations like the Y and different organizations and just different people and creatives, I also, have a lot of, I have an affinity for poetry. I'm a little closet poet, but, like anytime there's an exhibition, you have visual arts, and I like to also incorporate the performance arts, poetry, spoken word, singing, and different things like that, and showing how, it could be used as healing, as a form of expression, as a form of connecting, as a form of community building, as a form of, sometimes a cry for help, whatever avenue that people need. I think the arts plays an important role. And so I just wanted to share that for those who may, this is their first time in this space. So I see that Rosemary has another poem.
I just wanted to follow up with that, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Because in my long life is that the power of the artist compared to the individual is to speak to more than one. I believe that as individuals, we should always be loving the other to the best that we can, one-on-one, one-on family. But that the artist and the things that you guys bring to the table is the ability to create something that speaks to more than one. That then also continues on past that initial conversation that you have with another individual. And so I just want to thank you for digging in deep and trying to do that, whether you're making films or poems or visual arts or whatever. It's really important that your stuff is made and said and heard, so that other people can keep learning and having those depths of experience and feelings that you're bringing forward. So thank you, and keep doing it, because it's really, really important for cultural change that people exist to do this work, because you just can't do it one-on-one. You have to do it one-on-one, but you can't do it one-on-one. So that's my thought for the day.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you to all three of you. It's been an enjoyable evening and learning process as well. As I've mentioned to Kathleen and Niki before, I'm a business person, so I haven't really been exposed to the arts that much, except going to Broadway plays in New York City, etc. But I've learned a lot since being here in Florida, And I thank you guys because you bring so much awareness, and so much, you give so much of yourselves, which is really important as well. And I appreciate that immensely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Kathleen, you work in film, which is a little different from me. But since you work in film, I can ask you this question. Where, where do you, where do you think film should go next? And when I say that, I mean, what what conversations do you think are not happening at all, or not happening enough in the film arena?
What conversations do I think are not happening in the film arena?
Not happening enough. I think that's it.
I think that all conversations can happen in the film arena. I think it's so important to get and encourage more people to hop in and to tell their stories visually. I think poets would make beautiful filmmakers. And yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, it's about diversity. It's, for far too long, there have been, one group of people who have been the gatekeepers and the storytellers of other people's stories. And as we know, they don't always get it right. So I think the more unique voices get in that arena to tell their stories, the better. We need definitely diversity and inclusion in the film industry.
I want to add a little to that what Kathleen said reminded me of this quote. It's a Zimbabwe proverb. It says, "Until the lion tells his side of the story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter." So I think, when she said that, and I totally agree, all these tropes that we always see and predictability, I mean, those are fun and entertainment. We definitely need more people telling our stories, showing how we're not a monolith, whether it's Black stories, women's stories, lesbian stories, LGBT, stories of conflict. There's all perspectives, and all of those perspectives has a place. Because even someone who's struggling and they can't find their way, when you share that, someone else feels like, oh, I'm not alone in that. And I could share my thing too. And that's definitely something that I relate to with some of the stuff that I share within, my art exhibitions and What's Your Elephant. When I share certain traumas that I've lived through, people like, oh my God, you see me. Oh, here's my elephant. I literally have people, here's my elephant. That should be another hashtag. And there's so much that people hold on to. So it's important to get everybody's voice out. It's important to uplift as much people as we can. It's important for diversity to be supported, because it's very easy for the things that are the normal tropes, the normal acceptable standards of beauty and all those things. That's already widespread. But things like this, things like the film, things like the poetry, things like, people not being visible, stories not being heard, even whether you're an artist or not, right? Whether you're an artist, participate. Whether you feel you're not an artist, you could support, you could push it forward, you could share it. Everyone has a role to play, whatever level they're at. And so I just agree with all the stuff that's being said, but especially that's what kind of came up when Kathleen said that part. So
Yeah, and I love that proverb. I use it a lot, typically in my presentations as well. And it's so important because people, generations grow up learning from what they see on TV and at the movies. And if we don't have different types of families, Caribbean families, Asian families, different people who have different customs and a different way of doing things and communicating with each other, then we think that there's only one way to be, right? So we end up all colonized, culturally colonized. And that's a
Exactly.
sad state of affairs. We want to celebrate the differences. There's a show that I just love on Netflix called Kim's Convenience, and it's about a Korean family living in California. And I just
Mm,
find it so refreshing.
yes, I
It's
know that one.
interesting what. Mhm.
Kathleen, I'm glad you brought up Kim's Convenience, right? Speaking of diversity in like film and whatnot, um, Marvel, in that same vein, has really done something amazing with this newest film that they just released, Shang-Chi. Um, and it's an Asian inspired superhero film, right? But the cast of this movie and the setting and everything is like close to 100% Asian.
Yes.
It was like an unheard of casting where a good 80-90% of the cast were Asian.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Kudos to them, yes.
Yeah,
We don't only need, culturally different people to be the sidekick, right? They can be the
they are the heroes.
liner.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So I would agree. I like that you said that, and I appreciate you like even giving us those examples too, and like even jogging my mind to go back to this movie because like it really was powerful. And not only that, it was a phenomenal movie. Like it stands up with all of the other Marvel films, and even better than some of them, in my own opinion. So it's this, it's amazing to for us, for people of color, to actually get real opportunities to exemplify ourselves and make sure that the world sees who we are beyond, like, as Niki said, the tropes and the stereotypes.
Absolutely. And I've been a longtime fan of independent filmmaking because that is where typically in the past you would have to go to see those unique stories to an art house cinema. So, it's really a positive step in the right direction to see that, mainstream media is now following suit and giving other actors the opportunity to tell the stories.
What's the next frontier, do you think?
The next frontier.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Where do you see your industry heading? Or where are you heading?
Where am I headed? Huh. Hmm. Right now, as a filmmaker, I'm exploring. I'm exploring collaboration is very important to me. I want to explore dance, more poetry, uh, different forms of utilizing music to tell a story. So I'm sort of kind of just in an experimental stage, having fun with my film.
Yeah. Nikki? I'm
Hmm.
kind of curious about you too. Where are you headed? What's next? What's the new frontier?
I'm headed as far as I could go. One, but I think where people will be more mindful of a lot of things, right? A lot of us already know or becoming more aware of, sometimes when it's easy to talk about slavery or enslavement, and we talk about the shackles that were put on people's bodies and those shackles being removed. But when there's time to be spent there, but mental enslavement, right? So when the shackles were removed, those mentally enslaved helped to keep the shackles there. They didn't run off the plantation. They stayed there. They helped to tear the other person down. And it's a brainwashing of that, that was by design. So, all of these institutions that have, made society and our culture run how it runs, we're not going to change 400 years of oppression overnight. But working towards being mindful and shifting and provoking and not accepting the status quo, not accepting someone else's narrative. And I see that shifting, like, no, you don't get to label me. You don't get to define me. You get to ask me who I am, ask me how I want to be seen, ask me what I want to say. And either you listen or, and I think more people supporting that, and people realizing, because I know a lot of times when we talk about social justice or racism and all those things, sometimes the focus is like, okay, which rightfully so, giving equity and uplifting Black voices, underserved voices and things like that. But I don't think sometimes people also don't understand too much of how both Black and white people, society will benefit from, the elimination of racism and a lot of these social unjust moments. Earlier this year, I did some with another project that I was doing for the Housing Authority. I had a lot of community engagement that ended up being virtual because of the pandemic. And historian Derek Davis talked about how racism costs society, what it costs, And so I think sometimes when people feel about that, people don't understand the importance and the power of allyship, and how it benefits, because, that's what it is. The people who are oppressing other people, they don't want that exchange of power because they feel they're going to lose something, or it's just like, oh, what about me? But it's just like, we're more powerful if we all stand in our truths, if we all stand in our power, our skills, and be able to really collaborate where it makes a difference, where, I'm not going to be silenced as someone takes the idea that I have because, they like, no, you have that idea. Let's uplift her. Let's uplift him. Let's, and each one of us working towards those things. So I think as people are getting more rest, being more mindful, connecting more to nature, standing up to what they don't, what they see is wrong. A lot of times people are afraid to voice that opinion of, that didn't sound right. Does it sound like, or, when people say things, not to be racist, but not to be homophobic, but not to be slanderous, but, and what they, so it's just like when people say, people like, was that wrong? It was wrong. You felt it in your gut. So I feel that, my goal is working towards being more mindful and connecting because we feel it in our body, but because we're such survivor mode for different things, whether it's society, whether we went through something personal, we're disconnected from those feelings in our body. We're told to be silenced. We're told not to ruffle a feather. We're told to be in the corner. And I feel that I want to work towards living unapologetically myself as much as possible, break through all those things, because I feel like I want to be the to show other people they could do it as well. So if I'm doing that and I'm supporting other people to do that, it becomes more of a norm. And I think that's a pathway that could eventually work to break down these systems that are oppressive and that's in place, where people feel, oh, I have to look like this to be acceptable, where the normal professional hairstyle is something straight, someone's nappy hair or locked hair or curly hair or messy hair, like, that's not professional. I love that. So, people are not perming their hair so much, not just because of the chemical damages and possible cancer connections to those products, but the self-loathe, and not having self-hate, like it's nothing wrong with weaves and hairstyles, but if you've never touched your natural hair, if you can't look at your face without the contouring, that's the problem. If you could just, oh, this is something different. I feel like dressing up today. I feel like wearing a wig today. I feel like coloring my hair today. I feel like wearing eyeliner. That's fine, but you should be able to see your raw beauty, and we should be able to accept the raw beauty in each other. And so those are things that I feel like I want to work towards. And I feel like the more people are comfortable in saying those things, it's going to invite other people to say, where am I holding myself back at? You know, and it won't be so like, oh my God, you're too much. Thank you for noticing. You could be too much too. We could be too much together. So that's where I'm trying to work towards. And I think also too, when you're in that realm, what happens is you connect to other people also trying to do that, which just makes that voice more powerful. So instead of like feeling ostracized because I'm the oddball, or damn, I know everybody saw this, but I don't want to be the one to say it, you know? And so feeling more like accepted, or it's just like, hey, even if it's just me on my own saying it to myself, that's fine too. So that's what I would say about it.
And Niki, you something you said made me think about, how important it is to be truthful. And when I think about films that are brutally honest, like Sankofa or 12 Years a Slave, and there's definitely a place for those, and I appreciate those films, and I think the truth needs to be told. But part of what I also want to do is to tell the truth of Black joy. Because I think joy and happiness is also a form of protest and resistance. And I want to celebrate that, and I want to help people work through their trauma, and I don't want to re-traumatize anyone. I want to bring joy through my film work and advocacy.
Hallelujah.
Right? That what you said, Kathleen, it brought me back to something that I wrote a long time ago. It's a part of a poem, and it's probably the feature poem out of my second book, called Getting Through. And in the portion, it's on the back of the book, it's a highlighted portion, and it reads, "Don't you know that trauma travels? That translation of suffering rests in our makeup, that we have survivor etched into our bones." And it just, everything that you were saying just brought me back there, because we are so much more than the tropes. We're so much more than the stereotypes and than the visions that people have of us, and our stories in all of their facets are important, and they're worthy of telling. And so like you in your exploration, I too am like on this journey of wanting to share with the world not just the sides of me that are appreciated, but all of the sides of me, the sides of me that make the other sides of me that are appreciated, if that makes sense. I feel like there is room, and not only that there is room, but there has to be room for all parts of people. We're not always joyous. We're not always successful. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we stumble. Sometimes we're depressed. Sometimes we're angry. Sometimes we're sad. Sometimes we want to give up. We just don't have energy. Sometimes we just need to recharge. And then other times, yeah, we are joyous. Sometimes we can see the beauty in all things. Sometimes we can enjoy quiet moments. Sometimes, we can see the beauty in ourselves and in other people, and all of that is relevant. All of that matters all of the time, and so I want the world to no longer have excuses for ignoring people's humanity. And so I'm working on a dissertation. I'm in the fourth year of my doctoral program in marriage and family therapy. And my dissertation, I'm planning on writing on the lived experiences of Black men. Because I think that there's something powerful about being seen, and about being able to be seen and to be seen as whole, right? I want to tell the stories of Black men that don't get told. I want the struggle and the joy, the success and the failure. I want the success after the failure, because sometimes people don't recognize it. We sometimes we make mistakes, and all people see is the mistake. But we're more than the worst thing that we've ever done, right? So if that is true, then there must be more. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in search of the more. I'm in search of the stuff that exists only in silence because the world isn't listening.
Beautifully said.
I love. I see Kimray. I just want to give her a shout out to Kimray Mizell Hill. She's on Facebook. She was saying yes about the dance when Kathleen was talking about incorporating dance into the movie. I just want to underline, Ade, what you were saying about having like Black joy or joy, right? There was something, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember the quote, but it was something I saw on Facebook a while back, and it said that our ancestors, because a lot of times we identify with the struggle of our ancestors, the enslavement, the trauma, all those things, but they had joyful moments as well, right? They had singing, they had dance, they had beautiful moments. And that's what made them also so powerful, because that joy helped them through those times. And I think even though it's very important to talk about the trauma, the struggle and all those, we do need those joyous moments, because even a bad moment, you could be in a bad situation, there's going to be that little space that you laughed at something. And sometimes you need that when you're in a dark space, right? Because it's like, okay, when you're in a good space, it's not going to be forever, but also the same is in a dark space. So I think it's very important, when we're telling our stories, that we don't only have to tell the struggle either, like tell those. And it doesn't take away, because I think sometimes may feel if I talk about the joy, then I'm ignoring that trouble, that struggle, and it's not. We're just focusing on those things. So I just want to kind of highlight, that. So. Peace world, live and love, yes. Yeah, if you have the links to those things, I could also share it on the creative page.
Will do. I'll make sure I forward this here.
So I know that we could probably talk forever, but I want to kind of like invite other people who may be either watching live or on the Zoom, if they have anything that's come up for them that they want to share as we kind of get to the wrap up of this beautiful evening. The other thing I wanted to share real quickly too, because I saw it somewhere, that today is the International Day of Listening, September 16th. So it said the day promotes one-on-one conversations with friends and family, business community meetings, open dialogue between government, citizens, and talk about mutual concerns. So I saw Liz, the happiness coach, post that on her Instagram, and I was like, oh, we're about to talk tonight. So I wanted to share that. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got no big thing in the little pepper.
So, okay, let's see. All right, so I think, initially when we started the workshop, we did it to 8, and then we realized we have more time, then we have to 8:30, but, I think we're all in a good place where we're at. I do want to remind people that, we really hope that you would consider sharing what you wrote. If you started writing something and did not finish it, the next workshop is going to be, let me just, and I put it in the Zoom chat and on the Facebook. It's going to be Saturday, September 25th, 1 to 3 p.m. I'm going to adjust the time in the post because I think on the post it was a little wrong. But, as long as I have that piece, now you could write what and email it. You could record a little short video of you reading it. On the 25th, we normally have some slides and we'll go through some of the work that was created, as well as if we have any artist work. And if you're there as a participant, if you've done the workshop, if you want to read your piece, Ade said, he's the featured performing artist. Space for open mic, or if you created a piece and you're there, you could, read it or, share a little bit more. But that's on the 25th. Kathleen, Ade, I don't know if you all have any other things to add.
Just thank you. This has been a wonderful way to spend Thursday evening. I've enjoyed it. I think this is really important work. I hope that everyone listening advocates for the arts. It's so important and crucial to a well-balanced, healthy society.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Definitely, I would echo that sentiment. Please, please, please advocate every chance you get for arts and arts education, especially in our schools. Arts education is some of the first things to get slashed when educational funding is affected. And so we want to keep the arts in our schools. We want to keep our kids creative. We want to keep our children dreaming. That's important. And that's one of the classes that they're able to, even somewhat freely do that. So yeah, we should advocate for the arts and arts education. I definitely want to thank everyone who showed up in whichever form you showed up in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time, the energy. Thank you to Niki, to what's your elephant, to the Y, the greater Cis Trunk area. I'm a child of Lauderdale. I'm a graduate of Dillard High, so that whole area pretty much raised me. So thank you to them as well. And then mostly the only thing that I would like to say is, if you were interested in anything that you heard, if you're interested in reading or having more of my work, I've said it a couple of different times here, but you can definitely take a visit to my website, and I have links to my books that are on there. But also on the 25th at the event, I will have physical copies of both of my books for sale as well. So if you're interested and maybe wanting to talk more with me directly, you can do so there. And I'll be more than happy to, to engage with you. So
thank you. And I would just wanted to add that on behalf of the LA Lee YMCA and the Victory Black Box Theater, we'd love when our doors open in January for you to come and grace the stage.
Oh, wow.
Your beautiful poetic verses.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would love to do that. Please, let's keep in contact.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also want to add, so I mentioned it before, the support for this project has come through a grant by the Community Foundation of Broward. So we have Oakland Park Women's Club, David and Francie Horvitz Family Fund, Ann Adams Fund, and Mary and Alex McKenzie Community Impact Fund are the funding sources that kind of powers this program and makes it possible. But I'm so grateful for everyone who's here right now, live on the Zoom, on Facebook, the people who watch it later. Again, this is the third out of the 4 workshops that's going to be offered. The next workshop will be with Kaula, who she was here online earlier, but and that's going to be a visual arts workshop. Anyone who's listening to the replay, each of the workshop, you could go and listen to it. You could create the art for it. If you could still submit, because in January, there will be a culminating exhibition. Like Kathleen said, the Y is still the new Y that's been in the Cis Trunk community for the past 70 years. It's being a new 4-story building is being built. And so once that is open and the Black Box Theater is open, their programs like this is what will happen there, as well as you know, I'm an independent artist and curator, so I do things with the What's Your Elephant project under Niki Lopez Creative, and I also collaborate with organizations like the Y and other grassroots organizations, you know, doing different things in the community to create change. So if you want to know a little bit more about the work that I do, you could go to what'syourelephant.org. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, you could look up What's Your Elephant. I'm also under there as Niki Lopez 19. So I'm actually doing 2 series. So this one is Art of Justice, and I'm also doing another What's Your Elephant program as well that has a lot of art making workshops, as well as if you're virtual, I do produce a podcast that's recorded every twice a month called The Circle, where I talk to artists and advocates. I think I've already brought on Cathleen. Adi, I don't know, have you been on The Circle? I'm trying to get you on. So I talk to artists, advocates, social entrepreneurs, people doing great things in the world. We talk about what inspired them to do the work that they do. How do they create impact in their community? How they're using their skill, their platform, their talents, their passions. We also talk about mental health and what they're doing for self-care, because that, you know, is also a part of the conversation. So, you know, if you go to Niki Lopez Creative, you'll see that it's also on any of the podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Spotify. So if you're ever interested in any of that type of program, definitely check it out. Again, this is the Art of Justice program. This is a program that I'm doing on behalf of the LAV, YMCA and Mizell Community Center. And I'm just really grateful to be here in this space with you all. So we're wrapping up, but if there's anyone that's online that wants to say something or type, I see Rosemary put, the hope is there and we will overcome. Yeah, yes, absolutely. So, and I'm hoping that people who have participated or are going to listen, that there's something in this video that you can take into your day, that you could take into your job, that you could take into your passion project, your hobby, some little piece of information that you could start to build or continue to do whatever change you can in your household, in your community, and work to inspire others. So on Leila, oh, I don't know if you're saying something. So on that note, I'm going to tell everyone, have a great, wonderful evening. I know this is a holiday for many people. I think it's Yom Kippur. So definitely want to just throw that out there and acknowledge that for those who are celebrating or identify with that. And I will see you all on hopefully for the 25th. So peace and good night.
Bye.
Bye.